Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. They will read from Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter 2, text number 66, page number 139. Text 66. Nasti ba buddhir ajaktasya. Nasti buddhir ajaktasya. Na cha yuktasya bhavanaha. Na chaks yuktasya bhavanaha. Na chabya yatta santir. Nabha chabha hayanta santir. Santasya kuta Shubham. Asantasya kuta shukam. Word for word. Na asti. Repeat. Na asti. There cannot be. Buddhi. Transcendental intelligence. Vyaktasya. One is not connected with Krishna consciousness. Na. Cha. And. Vyaktasya. Of one devoid of Krishna consciousness. Bhavana. Fixed mind in happiness. Na, not. Cha, and. Abha, abaha, havyataha. One who's not fixed. Santi, peace. Asantasya, of the unpeaceful. Kuta, where is. Sukha, happiness. One is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness, can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. How can there be any happiness without peace? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Unless one is in Krishna consciousness, there is no possibility of peace. So it is confirmed in the 5th chapter, 5.29. That one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all good results of sacrifice and penance, that he's the proprietor of all universal manifestations, and that he's the real friend of all living entities, then only can one have real peace. Therefore, if one is not in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be a final goal for the mind. Service is due to of an ultimate goal. When one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. Therefore, one who is engaged without a relationship with Krishna is certainly always in distress and is without peace. However much he may make a show of peace and spiritual advancement in life, Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested, peaceful condition which can be achieved only in relationship with Krishna. Om Agnatam Zasha Jana Jana Slakaya Sakshuramitam Jina Tazmei Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Danti Swapadantikam Vanchakopa Tribhyascha Kipa Sindhu Evacha Bhajana Pavanayo Vaishnavyo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasade Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Translation once again. One who is not connected with Krishna, the Supreme, in Krishna consciousness, can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. How can there be any happiness without peace? The verse before that says, for one thus sits satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. So what we have here, we have Krishna is talking to Arjuna, text 54 to 72, how he should become fixed in Krishna consciousness and fight the battle of Kurukshetra. So this verse is giving the different side of the previous verse. This verse is saying that one cannot have peace and one cannot be happy without being in Krishna consciousness. So peace is there. Peace is a state of freedom. Those two boys, you can come inside. English class. Peace is a state of freedom. So there's two kinds of peace. There's peace, individual peace, and peace in the world. Peace of the different countries of the world. Everyone's looking for world peace. So after World War II, they created the United Nations. But it's the ununited nations. And instead of uniting, all they've done is increase the number of flags that are flapping outside. They have a flag for each country that's in the United Nations. But since they established the United Nations, there has been so many different wars. They've not been able to create peace in the world. There's war, there was war in Vietnam, war in Iraq, war in Afghanistan. Now there's a war between Russia and Ukraine, and so many conflicts are always there. And the United Nations is not able to do anything about it. So this kind of peace is wanted, but unless the rulers of the world, the leaders of the world are Krishna conscious, there can never be any peace in the world. An example of Lord Ramachandra, he was the king of the world, and when he ruled the world, it was Treta Yuga, but it looked like Satya Yuga because he was such a good king. So the king or government leader is supposed to be interested in seeing to the welfare of the people. Maharaj Yudhishthira was also an ideal king, and there was no disturbance in his kingdom. Even the cows were happy. They said their milk bags were so full that they would muddy the pasturing grounds. So this is a leader's responsibility to see to the peace. People are peaceful and happy. But today, the leaders are only concerned about their own interests, and they make so many promises so they can get elected to the post, but they are not able to change the situation very much or make things peaceful. So the whole Bhagavad-Gita is actually meant to teach people how to become peaceful. It says if you're not peaceful and you don't know the goal of life, then there's no possibility of any happiness. Bhagavad Thakur was an example of someone who was not peaceful. He was at the funeral ceremony of his father, and he was telling the priest, hurry up, I gotta go. Because he was wanted to go see a prostitute whose name was Chintamani. When he got to the river, there was a heavy storm. There was no boat. So he grabbed onto the first thing that came by, and that was a dead body. And when he got to our house, she had locked the doors and went to sleep because she figured no one's going to come and when it's such a bad night. So he grabbed onto the first thing he could find and pulled himself over the wall, and that was a snake, poisonous snake. And finally he knocked on the door, and she answered the door, and she saw Bhagavad Thakur. And she said to him, if you only had so much attraction for Krishna, then Bhagavad Thakur had a change of heart at that time. That attraction to this woman was not the ultimate goal of life. It would not bring him ultimate happiness. So Bhagavad Thakur and the prostitutes spend the whole night discussing Krishna's pastimes. Then Bhagavad Thakur took initiation and decided to go to Vrindavan. But even on the way to Vrindavan, he was attracted by a lady who was married. So, the permission of her husband, he went to this lady to enjoy with her. And when he got there, he said to the lady, Mataji, give me your hairpin. So she gave him his hairpin, and he put out his eyes so that he would never again be attracted to the fleeting beauty of a woman. And then Krishna personally came and took him to Vrindavan, where he did his bhajan for 700 years and wrote Krishna Karnamrita and other Vaishnava literature. So one may try to be happy in the material world, but today they're promising happiness. If you get this car, you'll be happy. Or if you get the best cell phone, iPod 20, you'll be happy. Or if you get the best house, build yourself a big house, you'll be happy. But you come in this world with nothing, and you leave this world with nothing. So you may get some happiness for a short time, but it's flickering and temporary. So it says the mind is the root cause of all our problems. The Avanti Brahmin was a cruel man. He was a Brahmin, but he was a cruel, selfish man, and he gave people so much trouble. Then he lost all his money, and his family didn't like him anymore, and he took sannyas. And then he simply depended on the mercy of Krishna. So whatever happened to him, he never complained, he never spoke to anyone. Sometimes they would steal his clothes, sometimes they would pass water on his prasadam, sometimes they would bind him up, sometimes they would lock him up, so many things they did to him. He never complained, he always saw everything as the mercy of Krishna. So outwardly he was suffering, but inwardly he was completely peaceful. So when one comes to the Brahma Bhuta platform, Brahma Bhuta Prasadam Nasoshiti Nakanchati Samasarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. When one comes to the Brahma Bhuta platform, or the platform, spiritual platform, then he's no longer influenced by the three modes of material nature. Otherwise, the three modes are there: goodness, passion, and ignorance. In the Krishna book, the story of the conversation between Rukmini and Krishna, they said, Rukmini and Krishna said, before that, Prabhupada said, everybody in the material world is unhappy or morose. Even the Mayavadis, even the Jnanis, even the yogis. Ye anye ravindarsha vimuktamaninas jya asti vavad ashuddha buddhaya arura kichena parampadam tata pasyanti rao na dirtra yusmad angrayaha. Someone may say, aside from devotee, who will always seek shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, there's those who are not devotees, but accepted different processes for attaining salvation. What happens to them? In answer to this question, Lord Brahma, other demigods said, O lotus-eyed Lord, Although non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penance to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated, but their intelligence is impure, and they fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. So even the Jnanis, yogis, trying very hard to become one, to merge into Brahman, to be eternally situated, are not satisfied in that condition. So Lord Rishabhadev had 100 sons, and he said to his sons, Nayam deho deha bhajana riloke, kastam kaman arhate vid bhujam ye, tapo divyam putrayena sadvam shujye yasmad brahmashukam tu anantam. Lord Rishabhadev told his sons, my dear boys, of all living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night like the dogs and hogs that eat stool. Dogs and hogs eat stool. We see that all the time in Vrindavan, but you don't see that in Western countries because they don't allow dogs and hogs to roam. At least there's no hogs on the streets. Some dogs may be there. And no one passes stool in the streets either, so they can't eat stool. But that applies in India. You see that common practice. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activities, one's heart is purified, and one attains this position. He is eternal, blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. So Jad Bharat was first he was Mara's Bart, and he was trying to attain perfection. So he became detached and gave up his kingdom, gave up his family, gave up everything, and went to the forest to practice yoga, meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was on the level of bhava. He was exhibiting ecstatic symptoms. But somehow or other, he became attached to a deer. So at the time of death, he left his body. He had to accept a deer body. But in that deer body, he still had the same consciousness he had before. And so he was very careful not to associate with non-devotees. He went to the same ashram and stayed there until he gave up that deer body. Then he became Jad Bharat. Jad Bharat was born in a Brahmin family, and his father tried to train him in the Brahminical principles. He tried to teach him that after you answer the call of nature, you wash your hands. But he would wash his hands first. And whatever his father tried to do to make him a Brahmin, he would just do the opposite. So they decided what to do with Jad Bharat. They made him like a scarecrow. People have put these artificial thing in the field to keep the crows away from eating the plants. So they had Jad Bharat stand in the field, and he was acting like a dull, dumb man, although he was the most advanced devotee, but he didn't want to get entangled in material life. So he was standing there, and whatever was left over in the pots, whether it was burnt rice or whatever it was, they would feed him, and he never said anything. So finally, one day, they were looking for a person to carry the palanquin for King Rahugana. King Rahugana was going to Kapila Ashram on a pilgrimage to a holy place. So they needed a strong, healthy body person to carry the palanquin. They had three people. They needed one more. So they hired Jad Bharat. But Jad Bharat was not doing the job properly because he didn't want to step on any ants. So King Rahugana became very disturbed and chastised him that he should do it right or we're going to punish you. But he continued to do it wrong. Then there was a conversation between Bharat Maharaj, Jad Bharat, and King Rahugana. And King Rahugana then realized that Jad Bharat was actually a self-realized soul. So King Rahugana said, unless one has the opportunity to smear his entire body with the dust of the lotus feet of a great devotee, one cannot realize the absolute truth. One cannot realize the absolute truth by simply observing celibacy, brahmacharya, strictly following the rules and regulations of household life, living at home as a vanaprastha, accepting sannyas, or undergoing severe penance in the winter by keeping oneself submerged in water, or surrounding oneself in summer by fire and scorching heat of the sun. There are many other processes to understand the absolute truth, but the absolute truth is only revealed to one who has attained the mercy of a great devotee. So we have to smear the dust from a great devotee, lotus feet, all over our body. That means we should follow his instructions. And if you do that, then you'll be happy. If your guru is happy, then you'll be happy. Yasha prasada, yasha prasada, Bhagavad-Prasado, yasha prasada, not akin to gopi. If the guru is, if Krishna is pleased, then the guru is pleased. If the guru is pleased, Krishna is pleased. So there's no possibility of happiness in this world unless one takes the Krishna consciousness. In the next verse, it says, one who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind. No, that's today's verse. Next verse says, as a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the senses, roaming senses, on which the mind focuses, can carry away a man's intelligence. Therefore, a mighty one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires to enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled, is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. A person who gives up all desire for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship, and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. So that's the positive side. This verse is giving the negative side. So people want to be peaceful. People want to be happy, but they're looking for peace in the wrong way. People think that if they take intoxication, that they'll be peaceful, or at least they'll get some relief from their anxiety. They asked Prabhupada if LSD was a spiritual experience, if they could take LSD to become self-realized. And Prabhupada said, no, you can't become Krishna conscious by some material arrangement. So people take drugs, take intoxication, take alcohol, which gives them some temporary sense of happiness, some temporary sense of peacefulness, but it's not lasting. It wears off after a few hours. So it's not the answer to the problems. And people who are have not realized the soul, Atma, it's like they're on a boat that doesn't have a rudder. The boat must have a rudder and someone to steer the boat, otherwise the boat just goes any direction. There's one man in Singapore. They have a very strict law. Anybody that's caught with drugs at the airport or anywhere entering the country immediately gets a death sentence. They hang him. No trial, no appeal. Immediately they sentence him to death. So one man was caught with drugs, sentenced to death, but at that time he got a book, I don't know which book it was, on Krishna consciousness. And he read that book. So when they were taking him to the gallows to be hanged, they said that he was the most peaceful man they ever saw being hanged. Because he read that book and he understood that he wasn't the body, that he was a spirit soul, and that he was eternal servant of Krishna. So this is what we're giving people, Krishna consciousness. We're offering Krishna consciousness to everyone. Our temple's open to everyone, and people can choose, can come here or not come here. They have their free will, their choice, but they will, certainly not everybody in the world can become Krishna conscious. One reporter asked Prabhupada, what would happen if the whole world became Krishna conscious? And he said, everyone will be happy and peaceful. But another time, a reporter, interview, a man asked Prabhupada, what would happen if everybody becomes Krishna conscious? And Prabhupada said to the man, don't worry, you'll never become Krishna conscious. So there's always these two elements, the devotees and those who are innocent. The Madhyamayakari preaches Krishna consciousness because he has love for the Lord, makes friends with the devotees, preaches to the innocent, and avoids the atheists. The seventh offense of the holy name, to preach the glories of the Lord, or the glories of the holy name, to the faithless. So if someone is not interested in Krishna consciousness, then we don't try to convince them about Krishna consciousness. But we have so many festivals and all over the world, and people may not be interested in philosophy, but we have one secret weapon, and that's prasadam. When someone is sick, the doctor prescribes medicine and diet. So the medicine is the chanting the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And the diet is to only eat Krishna prasadam. So even if the dog eats Krishna prasadam, he'll get a human form in his next life. So people may not be interested in Krishna consciousness, but everyone likes prasadam. Even in Los Angeles, we have the Rath Yatra, and the Christians come there to try to convert people to Christianity and say Jesus is the only way. The devotee told me that when they were serving prasadam, one of the fanatical Christians was waiting in line to take prasadam. So the devotee said to him, well, how can you take prasadam? Take our food. You don't like our flowers. You don't like us. He said, well, I'm hungry. He said, okay, well, then throw down your signs and take prasadam. So even a Christian, he got to take prasadam, even though they are opposed to us and give us so much trouble. So two things are mentioned here, that one, being happy and being peaceful and understanding what the final goal of life is. And Ramananda Roy was asked by Lord Chaitanya how to achieve the highest perfection of life. He said, Prema Pumartha Mohan, by developing our love for Krishna. But it's only if we're still in the modes of material nature, then we're not going to be able to develop our love for Krishna. But by following this process, then gradually it can, love for Krishna can be awakened. It's just like a child or baby has the ability to walk. It's inherent in him. But it takes some time for him to actually walk. So in the same way, Krishna consciousness is not something that has to be learned, but it's there in everyone's heart. But it has to be revived. When we come in the material world, we become covered over by the three modes of material nature, and we obtain a false ego and mind and intelligence. And our Krishna consciousness is covered over. So the Krishna consciousness movement is meant to reawaken our Krishna consciousness. It's there in the heart of every living entity, but it has to be reawakened by the practice of Krishna consciousness. So here it says, Bhaktaram Jaganatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Sridam Sarabhutanam Kyatvam Mam Shanti Vichati. We have to understand that Krishna is the enjoyer, Krishna is the proprietor, and Krishna is the real friend, and this is the real peace formula. A man and woman unite together in marriage, but the husband should not think that his wife is a tool for his enjoyment, and the woman should not think that the husband is meant for her enjoyment. They should make Krishna the center of their life. Vyasa Ashram means Krishna is the center. Krishna is the real enjoyer. So everything we do should be centered around giving pleasure to Krishna. Of course, we cannot come in direct contact with Krishna, but Krishna is very kind. In this age of Kali Yuga, he comes in the form of his holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Namacintamani Krishna, Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. The Krishna and Krishna's name is not different. So Krishna's name, form, pastime, qualities are all the same as Krishna. And he also comes in the form of Archa Vigraha, in the form of the deity. Anyone who thinks that the deity in the temple is made of stone or wood is of a hellish mentality, and he's fit to go to hell. So the deity may be appearing like stone or wood, and the deity can be broken, but when they have the installation ceremony, Pran Pratishtha, the Lord is called to enter into that form. And when the Lord enters that form, then he accepts our devotion, our worship. Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Palotoyam Yome Bhakti Priyachati. The one offering to me a leaf, flower, or water, I will accept. So the key is that one has to offer those things with devotion. So Krishna takes the form of the deity to accept our devotion. And because our eyes are not clear, our eyes are covered over by the modes of nature. So, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena, one has to have our eyes smeared with the salve of love. So our eyes are not clear, we cannot see Krishna. So he comes in the form of his deity. And therefore, the devotees rise early, 4 o'clock, come to Mangalarti to see the deity. And they get pleasure in doing that. The Muslims, Aurangzeb was a cruel Muslim. He went all over India breaking the deities and breaking the temples because he said God cannot have a form, and that deity worship was the product of Satan, the product of the devil. But we're not worshiping idol. The deity in the temple is not an idol. You can take a figure, a mendicant from a storefront they use and put it in the altar, but no one will want to come to see that or get any pleasure in seeing that. So this deity worship should never be considered idol worship. Krishna comes to accept our devotion, accept our bhakti. So according to the degree of one's bhakti, Krishna reciprocates with that person. We know there was one Brahmin, old Brahmin, young Brahmin. The old young Brahmin was serving the old Brahmin. So the old Brahmin said to the young Brahmin, I want to give you a gift because you've served me so nicely, so I'm going to give you my daughter in marriage. But the young Brahmin said, this is not a good proposal. Your family will never agree to this. So he said that if you actually want to give your daughter, then you have to come in front and make promise in front of the deity. Because formerly, if there was an argument in a village, and they would go in front of the deity, and no one would dare to lie in front of the deity. This way they can settle the dispute. So the young Brahmin, so the old man went back to his village, and his family members didn't agree to give his son to marry to his daughter. So there was a dispute, and the Brahmin said that if the deity comes here, then there'll be proof. So he went back to Vrindavan, and he said to Krishna, Gopal deity, that you have to come with me and bear witness, because this Brahmin promised to give his daughter to me, and if you come and bear witness, then his promise will be fulfilled. But the deity said, no, how can I come with you? I can't walk. I'm a deity. And the boy said, well, if you can talk, you can walk. So Krishna said, okay, I'll come with you, but under one condition, that I'll walk behind you and you will hear my ankle bells, but you can't turn around and look at me. As soon as you turn around and look at me, that I won't go any farther. And you cook 1 kilo rice and offer that to me every day. So the Brahmin did that, and when he got to almost to the village, he didn't hear the sound of ankle bells anymore, and he turned around, and there was the deity. Then he called all the village people, and they gave the Brahmin boy his daughter. The old man gave his daughter to the son, and the problem was solved. So it was one incident. There are many other stories, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sakshi Gopal, and Kishore Gopinath. So the deity is not an idol or a stone, but the deity reciprocates according to the advancement of the devotee. So the devotee may not appreciate the deity. Some devotees may appreciate. Outside people come here, take darshan. They may, Prabhupada calls it official. They take their official darshan, because they don't follow any sadhana. They're not following any principles, so they really don't have much devotion. But anyway, they'd rather come here than go to the cinema or nightclub. So Friday and Saturday especially, the temple has very crowded with many people who are coming to Vrindavan, coming to this temple and other temples. So still there's some piety left in the world, and especially in India, where people have some idea that they should visit the temple. And anybody that comes to our temple and joins in the kirtan, and they get a spiritual experience that they don't get anywhere else. Because you don't get in nightclubs or by going to movies, unless it's a movie about Prabhupada. So this is the difference between Krishna consciousness and other religions. People go to church faithfully every week. Once a week, people go to church, but they don't get the same feeling. They don't get any transcendental. They don't have ecstatic symptoms. They don't feel so much pleasure in doing that, like the people who come to the temple or come to Krishna consciousness, because they don't follow any sadhana or any principles. But those of us who follow the principles, no meeting, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and chanting 16 rounds every day, and trying to become Krishna conscious. In this way we're trying to come to the mode of goodness. And from the mode of goodness, once you come to the mode of pure goodness, Shuddha Sattva. And from pure goodness, then one can begin to develop his spiritual life, begin to develop his love for Krishna. So this is the peace formula. The Prabhupada met one policeman in Chicago, and the policeman asked Prabhupada, how can we solve the crime problem? And Prabhupada said, you just give me one hall. Just give me one hall, and we'll have kirtan and prasad distribution. That will solve your crime problem. Of course, they didn't believe it was so easy. But wherever they're chanting the holy name, wherever there's kirtan, when Lord Chaitanya was in Navadvip, he organized a civil disobedience movement, because the Qazi had ordered his men to stop the kirtan. To wherever there was kirtan, that they should stop the kirtan. So Lord Chaitanya organized this civil disobedience movement, where thousands and millions of people were doing kirtan, marching on the Qazi's house to protest. So some thieves were there, and they saw that people were leaving their houses open, and they were going to the Qazi house. But when the thieves got involved in the kirtan, they forgot that they were thieves. Even in Poland, where they do this Polish festival every year, they go to many cities and do kirtan and have so many nice programs. There was a group called the Skinheads, who were gangsters, didn't like us. Whenever we went there, they used to come and want to fight with us and give us trouble. But one time they came, but instead of giving us trouble, they joined in the kirtan. So in this way, people can be converted to Krishna consciousness. It's it can happen, and people can have peace and understand what the final goal of life is. You ask anybody. I went to Radha today. I made a survey. I asked five people what the goal of life was, and 4 people gave the right answer because they were Vaishnavas living in Vrindavan, and they said the goal of life was to go back to Golok and attain love for Radha and Krishna. Only one person couldn't give a proper answer. So if you go all over the world and ask people what the goal of life is, no, they can't give a proper answer. But devotees know that we don't have to worry about our destination or the goal of life or what's going to happen to us at the time of death. Most people are afraid of death, and therefore they don't know what death means, so they're fearful of death. But devotee, our whole life in Krishna consciousness is meant to prepare for death. Birth, death, disease, and old age, these things cannot be stopped by any scientist. They may promise they're going to stop disease, they're going to stop old age, they're going to stop death, but they can't do it because of the laws of nature. So at the time of death, yam yam vapi smaram babam, Krishna says, whatever you're thinking at the time of death, that's what you will attain. So devotees are trying to fix their minds on Krishna, become Krishna conscious, so we don't have to take birth again in the material world. And we know that becoming Krishna conscious is the final goal. If you take a taxi and you want to go to Delhi, but you go in the wrong direction, you'll never get there. So if you don't practice spiritual life, if you get distracted and take the material life, then you'll never accomplish the goal. You'll never become Krishna conscious. So we have to always be strict and follow strictly the order of the spiritual master as our life and soul. So Prabhupada did that. He took the order of his Guru Maharaj, told him to preach Krishna consciousness in the English-speaking world. He took that as his life and soul, and he did that. So anyway, these 2 things are there: peace, happiness, and final goal. These things, many more things can be said about this, but it's by understanding that aham brahmasmi, I'm not this body, that I'm a spirit soul, and I'm eternal servant of Krishna, Javera Swarupai, Nitya Krishna Das, Gopi Bharta Kamalas, Das Das Anudas. And I'm not Krishna, I can never become Krishna, I don't want to become one with Krishna, I don't want to merge into Brahman, I don't want to, even the 4 kinds of liberation. They stand with folded hands in front of the devotee. Liberation stands in front of the devotee at the time of death with folded hands. The devotee doesn't consider these things. To merging in the Brahman is like spiritual suicide. Even to go to Vaikuntha and accept the different kinds of liberation is not desired by devotees. The devotee's only desire is to become desireless, which means we only desire to please Krishna. When Krishna had a headache, he told Narada Muni that I have a headache and my only cure for my headache is got to bring the dust from someone's feet. So Narada Muni said, well, I'm not going to give you the dust of my feet because I'll have to go to hell. And then he went to the queens in Dwarka and they said the same thing. No, we can't give the dust from our feet. So he went to the gopis and he said, Krishna has a headache. He wants the dust from your feet. And the gopis said, yes, you take as much as you want. Here, take all the dust you want. And he said to the gopis, but you may have to go to hell for giving your dust to Krishna. But they said, we don't care if we go to heaven or hell. If it pleases Krishna, whatever pleases Krishna, we're pleased. So if Krishna wants our dust and we have to go to hell, then let it be that way. But everything for Krishna's pleasure. So this is we should always have this mentality. Everything is for Krishna's pleasure. Whatever we get, whatever is gifted to us, we should first offer to the deities, offer to Krishna, and offer to the Guru, and then accept it for our use in Krishna consciousness. Nirbandhan Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Uchite. No. Anyway, that's the wrong verse. It says, whatever is offered should be offered and utilized in Krishna's service. What was that verse? Anyway, it's I forgot. So anyway, everything we get, we should utilize in Krishna's service and offer to Krishna. And this way, our life will be peaceful and happy. So we can stop there. Anybody have any questions, comments? The question man's here. Yes, Nirbandhan Krishna. Someone there, you.
Right. Now you were giving the example of the Brahmana. He asked the deity to give the witness and deities followed him. And you were speaking of those who are pure devotees. So this Brahmana was pure devotee?
Yes.
How he was pure devotee?
Because it says so in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Both the Brahmana and the young Brahmana, old Brahmana, when the deity came, they came before the deity said, you are both are my eternal servants, birth after birth.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Any other questions? So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad-Gita ki jai.